writing an equation in slope-intercept form, so easiest way to do that, find your y-intercept, find your slope, write those off to the side, and then write those two together. So your y-intercept is at this point, -4. And then your slope, you can count from any of those 2 points. If you counted from here to here, you get -4/10, which you need to simplify. And then putting those two together, your equation would be y equals -2/5 x minus 4. Do you have any questions about that one? With number 2a, disregard b, you need to go back and use your point slope form. So if you were not using that, then your answer is probably incorrect. Remember, that's your y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You need to write that every time so you start to remember it. Do that, because you will need to know that for the quiz and test. If you need to label them, do that as well. x1, y1, m. And then use that format to find your slope-intercept form. So y minus y1 equals my slope of 1/2. Then x minus my x1 is negative. So I would make the minus or the minus negative a positive before I do anything else. And then continue on from there. Distribute and then get y by itself. So distribute, and then to get y by itself, we would add 3 to both sides. So our equation would be y equals 1/2 x plus 5. So if you got that, good job. If not, double check your work. Go back and fix that work. Do we have any questions on that one before we continue? For number 4, it asks us to write a vertical line. If you see something that says horizontal or vertical line, you should be thinking hoivas. So vertical line, we're dealing with an x equals. Then it gives you a point. You just have to know which one is your x. So x, y, your x is 4. The equation would be x equals 4. There's really no work for those, as long as you know which one is horizontal, which one is vertical, which is x, which is y. Questions on that one? So if we know that horizontal lines have 0 slope and our y equals, and vertical lines have undefined slope and our x equals, this tells us this is using a vertical line, so we're just focusing here. Vertical lines are x equals, so we know that part. And then we look at the point to see which one is x, which would be 4. Other questions on that one? Take out these notes if you don't already have them out. We're going to finish the last section in this. So far we've talked about writing equations from a graph, writing equations when it's a vertical or horizontal line, writing equations when you're given slope and y-intercept, converting it, and then the very last thing we talked about is when you have a point and a slope, and you would use your point slope form to find your slope-intercept form. Now we're going to use that same thing that we did before, but here we have to find the slope before we can use that. So if you need to write your slope formula somewhere, you can. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I know you guys have the point slope on that same page. I'm just going to write it again. Because we're going to be using both of these things. So, number 1, we have to find our slope before we do anything else. If you don't have your slope, we can't use this format. So I'm going to go ahead and label all of my points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then find my slope from there. So this would be 4 minus 1 over 2 minus 3, or 3 over negative 1, which would just be negative 3. Then, once you have your slope, you have an option. You can choose either of these 2 points. What you can't do is use both. So, like, I can't use this x and this y, or this y and this x. We have to use all of the same point. And I'm going to show you that both work, so you don't have to do both, but you can if you want. So I'm going to start with this first one, this x1, this y1, so this would be y minus my y1, which is 1, my slope, which is negative 3, and then in parentheses, x minus my x1, which is 3. And then I would start to simplify. Right, so this would become y minus 1 equals negative 3x. Watch your signs when you distribute negatives, because this would become a positive, not 39. Still positive, though. And then to get y by itself, we would get rid of the 1 by adding it to the other side. So y equals negative 3x plus 10 would be our answer. Yeah, so you would find your slope and then do your point slope format to get it back in slope-intercept form. So it's like an additional step.
Is this what called academy?
Yeah, so the ones that are due this week, the slope-intercept from 2 points, that's what this is. The linear equations in any form could be from a graph from 2 points, all of those different things. I am going to show you the other way. What if we had chosen this ordered pair instead? You don't have to write this down, but you can if you so choose. So the slope would not change. That would stay the same. Only your numbers would change. So this would be y minus 4 equals negative 3 times x minus 2. And then we would still distribute y minus 4 equals negative 3x plus 6. And if I add 4 to both sides, we get the same answer, which we should. So that would be a good way to check yourself. If you did it one way, maybe take the other ordered pair, test it out, see if you get the same thing. If you do, then you did the first way right. If you don't, then something in the first way was wrong. Before we continue, what questions do we have on that? I want to show you one where you may not have to do a lot of work. Like number 4. So you still have to find the slope no matter what, because that's not given to you. we're finding our slope, that would be 8 minus 3 over 0 minus a negative 1. So our slope here would be what? What would that slope be? Five. 5 over 1, which would just be 5. If you see an ordered pair like this, you don't have to do all the work. Anyone know what this ordered pair would be? If I graphed it, where would it fall? Zero, 8, where x is 0 and y is 8. Where would that be? So if that point was right there, what could I say about it? How would I describe that point? Think about when we are finding our equations from a graph. We're looking for two things, slope and, what's the other one? The y-intercept. This would be your y-intercept because it falls on your y-axis. So if you see a point that's 0 something, that's your y-intercept. So if you see that, then you don't have to keep doing the work. You found your slope, you have your y-intercept, you can write your equation. Y equals 5x plus 8. Now, you may forget that and still do the work, which is fine. If you still did the work, you would come out with the same answer. Does anyone need to see that work or want to see that work? So if you see a 0 in the x place, that is your y-intercept. You don't have to continue to do the work. But, say that again. Just when x is 0, here they're both at 0, so that doesn't matter. That's still your y-intercept. But like in number 3, where y is 0, that would not be your y-intercept. You would still have to solve that one. But if you do see something with that, I would use that point. So we'll go back into that one. So let's find the slope and then use that point. So we have 0 minus a negative 8 over negative 7 minus 5. Over negative 12. That can be simplified down to what? Yeah, negative 2 over 3. So if we are using the negative 7, 0, it's going to help us out a little bit when we put our values in. Because we'll have y minus 0 equals negative 2/3 times x minus 7. The y minus 0 will just become y, and then we just have to worry about distributing. So this is going to become a fraction, and that's okay. So if you have a 0 in the ordered pair, use that point because it may help you. But if that 0 is in the x value, that is your y-intercept, and you don't have to do the work. So it depends. I think there was one other I was supposed to open. Give me 1 second, because I thought I opened this, but I did not.